Great game out there today, boys. That was awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, guys, check it out. We got the new fifth quarter jerseys and a note from Tommy. Tommy says, best of luck this season, and remember to keep the fifth quarter tradition alive. Whoa! Hey, guys, look. We made it to the R-Bar.
I'm already ready to go.
Our plays are on fire today, boys.
Yeah, so these wings.
And the drinks are secured.
Cheers to our bar. Fifth quarter.
Meet the MSU players here at the R-Bar after every home game.
Road back from Nashville is what we're on now. We were on the road to Nashville for a couple weeks. Now we're on the road back from Nashville. And, I mean, when something happens for the first time in 41 years, we got to just continue to talk to all the people that helped us cover it all the way up to when it culminates. So Montana State, if you haven't heard, if you live under a rock, 35-34 in overtime over Illinois State. JP Flynn, former Bobcat, who's been chiming in all season long here on Skyline Sports, chiming in here today. What's up, man? Thanks for doing it. Your react. I mean, first of all, just set the scene. What were you doing for the game? Where were you at? Where were you watching it? And what'd you think of just the way it all played out?
I was actually just at home watching it on the couch. And, I come from a Grizz den. And Callie, stepdaughter, was like actively rooting for Illinois State and like screaming at the top of her lungs, going nuts. I got up to leave the room. Carolyn's like, "Why are you being such a baby? Come down, watch me." And I was like, "No, I really want the Cats to win this game, and you guys are pissing me off. I do not want to be in here. I need to go." And then, when they almost lost, I felt like I was like, "God, if they lose this game, I might actually cry." And then blocked the field goal. I went nuts. Everything was, and then everything went haywire from there again. They score on the opening drive of overtime. Like, what is happening? And it was, yeah. I mean, it was a roller coaster to say the least.
What do you make of all of that part? Because Montana State came in as a heavy favorite, and then they looked like a heavy favorite, even though Illinois State was sort of controlling the line and the clock. The Cats were scoring at will. I would actually argue maybe too quickly at times, but they had the great touchdown drive right before halftime. They take a two-score lead into half, and you're thinking, okay, if they get a score out of half, it's in full control. I mean, it's side still delivered. Illinois State kept fighting, but it was a good back and forth. And then in the fourth quarter, it started to sort of unravel on the Cats, and they made a bunch of mistakes, and they had a bunch of penalties. Is that just tightness in the moment, or what did you think of just how that was all going down? Like you mentioned, you and tens of thousands of others around the state of Montana were probably pretty nervous at that moment.
I really accredit it to two different things. So I think the drive out of half was the biggest drive of the game. The Cats started fast. They rolled right down the field. They score again. They score right before half. Like you said, they get a two-score lead going into halftime and are in a really good position because to me, that was like a massive backbreaker. It's like it's 14-0, and Illinois State scores. They feel like they have life. The Cats go down in 30 whatever seconds, put 7 more on the board, and they are deflated. You come out of half, even if you put 3 points on the board and make that a 3-possession game, that drastically changes the outcome and, the momentum of how this ball game played out. Second thing was obviously penalties. We talked all year. I think that the Cats really relied on the ground game throughout the season to be successful. And as much as I always want to say that the Cats should have ran the ball more, I just think that the penalties pulled them out of the ability to run the football the way that they wanted to. You run the ball on first down, you gain 6 yards, you're 2nd and 4, false start. Now you're back to 2nd and 9. You try and throw the ball on 2nd down and complete pass, 3rd and 9. It's obviously a difficult situation to be in. And that happened consistently throughout the game. Those were the two key factors, I think, that kind of led to the quote unquote, which you said, unraveling of the Cats kind of late in the game. Because I do think that they were a heavy favorite in that game, and they should have won the game by more.
Sure. But at the same time, like, it is a tense situation. I mean, first of all, Illinois State is badass, man. That team was sweet. I was so impressed with them. I thought that Rittenhouse was dope. I thought that Dylan Lord was awesome. The running back was great. Their defense was as good a defense as I've seen all year. I mean, that was a formidable opponent, certainly. And they rose to the occasion, and just being there in that stadium, too. I mean, the atmosphere was, it was palpable. There was a lot of pressure. And both sides were certainly feeling it. So it's not even a criticism of the Cats. That was just a huge moment. It was a great job of them to to just get it done, right? I mean, we see that in sports all the time. It's why we love sports. When it becomes a big moment, there is pressure, and it becomes so close, and who can finish it? And at the end of the day, the Cats ended up being the ones that could.
Yeah, like we talked before, prior to the national championship, like I did not want to play Illinois State. Between I thought their defense was super stout. I really like the Niekamp kid. I love the quarterback Rittenhouse, and Victor Dawson is a dude at the running back position, and they have great offensive linemen across the board. They got an All-American left tackle. The kid struggled a little bit in the game, but they're a really good football team, and we knew that going into this game, and knew that they weren't just going to roll over. They had been in these situations throughout the season, including North Dakota State came out on top in that one in the Fargo Dome, which is a huge win. I just think that the Cats, the reason why I think I'm just like saying this is like the game shouldn't have been that close is because I think the Cats did it to themselves more than Illinois State did it to the Cats. You get put in some of those situations that the Cats were put in just due to dumb penalties that were, self-inflicted wounds. I just think if you strictly get rid of the 9 false starts, I think the game alone is a totally different football game.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Right down the road, pump it up, yeah.
I was approached by a group of men, really right out of our national championship appearance. I think they saw NIL as an opportunity to continue to allow our program to grow. And it was very well thought out of. At the time, they didn't just come up with this on a whim. I think they studied other institutions across the country at all levels to be able to do it right, to be able to implement it the right way, align themselves ultimately with Blueprint after talking, I think, with several outside entities on how it should be managed. All our intentions with the Bobcat Collective are in the right place, and that's the most important thing. They're about continuing to promote our program, allowing our guys opportunities to help along with that. I think that's really important. It really, I think, has provided this give and take. Our guys are certainly benefiting from it, but then they're giving back at the same time, whether it's individual opportunities with particular businesses or just in general giving back through the collective to our community.
As a former offensive lineman yourself, what do you make of that part? 'Cause it was sort of a growing trend down the stretch. A lot of the Bobcat guys talked about it off the record. I couldn't get anybody to say it on the record, but some of the guys talked about it like other teams were baiting us and they were doing like false snap counts, and that's technically illegal, but obviously the officials were not picking that up. But you saw this same issue against Yale and Stephen F. Austin, and so I don't know if that's something that it's a priority for them to get off the ball quick, and that's a good thing, and so maybe that it just tends to happen more often, or I don't know what to make of it. What do you make of just the fact they had so many false starts the last couple of weeks of the year?
I mean, to be honest, I think the only answer is likely the mimicking of the cadence.
Right.
And to all the people who want to sit here and be like, I don't know why they didn't just go to a silent count, including Brock Osweiler, it's like that isn't just something that you simply install at halftime of the game. Like there's a lot of moving parts and pieces that go on pre-snap, especially in the Bobcat offense, that you can't just time up and do it unless you've been doing it, throughout the week of practice and, multiple weeks of practice for this one throughout the offseason. And we had a home road all the way through. So I doubt that they were just consistently practicing a silent snap count. And this being the first time in Nashville, no one really knew what to expect when it came to noise. And I highly doubt that Illinois State's crowd was creating that much noise to the point where they couldn't hear the cadence. So to me, the mimicking is likely the only option or the only answer to what actually occurred. I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody about it. But that's my best guess. And to think that, the silent count is not something that you can just install in, 45 seconds on a sideline. So, to me, I think the only other answer you could have done in order to keep things a little bit cleaner is just maybe do some under center stuff. But I highly doubt. I mean, I haven't seen the Cats go under center all year long,
Well,
so
that's
it's
right.
not like
Like,
that.
has Lamson ever even taken a snap under? I mean, you don't even know,
Yeah.
right? Like,
So to
yeah,
me, that's those are two unviable options, and I just I think that that's what they did, and more power to them. Like I think that that's like any time that I have a kid come off me, even in high school, they're like, "Hey, coach, they're saying go," and I'm like, "You got to lock in. You got to key in on on the go of our quarterback. You can't go on someone else's, and there's no real answer for it. And I mean, it is what it is. Hats off to the guys that do it and do it well.
yeah.
Because I think Illinois State had us on the ropes.
They did, and I thought one of the most underrated moments in the game. There was about a minute and 40 seconds left, and Illinois State was facing a 4th and 1, and Vegan did not take a timeout. And a lot of people were wondering why not. But I think that he knew that if he took a timeout, Illinois State would be able to then scheme something up and maybe go for it. And that would have then progressed it even closer. And all of a sudden, then you get a chip shot field goal and or you give up a touchdown and the game's over. The Illinois State kicker and everybody on the Bobcat sideline knew this, had only kicked in a game twice, and he'd only attempted one field goal in live action. So I think Vegan knew he wanted them to kick it, not go for it. And so then 40 more seconds bleed off. And then sure enough, they line up and Jace McMillan gets the block of the century for Montana State. What did you just think of just that part of the chess match and also just that play to come off the edge and block that kick?
And I think that's a two-edged sword. So, he's thinking to himself, okay, we stop them here. Let's say they do decide to go for it, right? We let this clock bleed down. We stop them here. We got a minute left with a timeout in our pocket, right? Because it's 4th down, changes downs, the clock's going to stop no matter what. It's not no timeout required. So to me, I don't know if there's necessarily so much about allowing Illinois State, the thought process of drawing something up on the sideline, as much as it was like, hey, we need to save this because if we get this ball back, we're going to have to go down. And let's say they do, all we need is a field goal to win. But if we get into a good position where we can just simply take a timeout, or maybe we take a sack that we don't want, we can take a timeout and kind of save ourselves. That would have been where my head was at if I was calling the plays, more than trying to allow Illinois State time to think things over.
But then it gets into overtime, and Illinois State scores in 2 plays. I was on the Bobcat sideline at that point. I had a terrible. So I left the press box with 10 minutes to go, and then I got stuck in a stairwell, and I didn't know where I was for a minute, and I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna miss the entire end of the game. And I ended up finding a side door and then running down onto the field. It was like Nightmare Central. That was like a bad dream. Like I'm gonna miss the ending of the greatest game ever. But anyways, I get back down there, and man, the tension on the sideline when Illinois State scored was crazy. But you want to know who didn't seem like they were tense? Was
Vegan, I would assume.
Vegan, Justin Lamson, and Taco Dollar. And sure enough, here they are 4 plays later. They make it. I just thought it was so fitting and almost poetic that it was those 2 guys. Like all the plays that went into this season, all the plays that went in the national championship run, several of the biggest ones were Lamson to Dowler in huge situations, and I just thought it was fitting that those were the guys that got to make the game-winning play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've said all year, like I think the 3 best players on the team were Titan Fleshman and our 2 running backs, and that's what we needed to rely on as the season wore on. But we also said last time we talked that with the front that Illinois State had, I personally just didn't think we were going to be able to run the ball at will against them. So someone really had to step up and make a play. Who's the next guy? Obvious guy in line is Taco Dowler, right? And Taco Dowler stepped up multiple times throughout that game. I mean, on the first drive of the game, it's 2nd and 20. They dump a 5-yard out to him. Dude makes 3 people miss and goes down the sideline for a first down, keep the drive alive, ends up scoring. Cats end up scoring later in that drive to take an early lead. He made multiple plays throughout that game that were just so unbelievably massive that will go down in Bobcat history. And you go back to, the semis against the Grizz on 3rd and 20, and, it takes an 87-yard touchdown to the house that just broke the back of the Grizz and, blew the floodgates wide open for the Cats. Like you said, it was all season long between those 2. I still stand by my comment of who the 3 best players are, but I think the next best 2 are number 8 and number 14. So it was awesome that those dudes stepped up in such a massive way at such a, massive point in the game. I mean, just an insane play on 4th and 10 and just ice in your veins to make that one happen. I mean, and really, I think the massive or the big adjustment that Illinois State made was they weren't getting home ever. So it started to run a ton of zero, a ton of cover one, adding guys to the fit and, especially in obvious passing down situations. And 4th and 10, I talked to Sturbick briefly this week, and, he said, he's like, it was obvious they were going to, run 0 or 1. We didn't know exactly which one, but we knew one of them was coming. And then Lamson to stand in there with pressure in his face, put a ball on a dinner plate for a touchdown is insane. I mean, that was an insane play, an insane throw. I mean, talk about doing nothing but catch the football, man. I mean, man coverage with that much space to work with. I mean, he was going to have a field day regardless. Going to be open by 5 yards. Throw by Lamson was unbelievable.
Unbelievable, man. We have multiple pictures of Lamson this year where he's at the top of his release and his arm is getting hit and he still throws a pill. That's one of his greatest skills, man. It's his ability to wait till the very, very last second and then boom, throw it even while he's getting drilled.
Yeah, that was, I mean, he, like you said, he's done it all year. He did it in the NAU game over Jabez Woods over the middle, on 3rd down, which is a game that we were kind of moving slowly in, that kind of broke the floodgates open in that game. I really like his ability to escape the pocket. I think he does a great job of getting outside of the pocket and, extending plays with his legs. And it's super juiced that he's coming back.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you have to love that part, right? I think this, just for the state of college football, the fact that a whole bunch of the best players in the state, most of the most important guys at Montana State, Justin Lamson, Taco Dowler, Adam Jones, Titan Fleischman, they're all coming back. And even on the other side of the rivalry, Kaylee Ayat, Eli Gilman, Brooks Davis, they're all coming back. For the state of college football, I think that's a great thing, man. It's refreshing to see that it's not just all about the bag you can get. It's not just all about the money.
Yeah, and I think my big message to anyone who wants to transfer is like your roadway to the ultimate goal is very viable through MSU.
Right.
It's a very, very viable option to get to that next level if that's what your ultimate goal is. There's obviously certain situations where you're stupid if you don't leave, kind of thing.
Right.
I guess is kind of what I'm trying to say, in a politically correct kind of way. But like Connor Moore. Like if I'm coaching Connor Moore and he's got that kind of money on the table, I'm gonna look at him and be like, dude, don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Right, I'll help you pack your stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll do whatever you need me to do. Like I'll call a U-Haul. I'll do whatever you need. Like just get the hell out of here. But for a lot of these guys, I think that legacy portion of things is such a massive deal. And I think with what I truly believe with the infrastructure that MSU currently has, with Vegan coming back another year, Heron at the helm in the weight room, Lamson, like the core group of guys really coming back on that offensive side of the football and defensive side of the football. I mean, this is an opportunity to truly start a dynasty-like run for MSU. There's plenty of holes to fill. I'm not going to sit here and act like, there's returners coming in every single facet and we should be dominant. But with the way that we've developed players over the past 5 years, we should be able to plug and play.
Yep.
I mean, even in our secondary, losing our entire secondary to the transfer portal, I'm like, cool, like we're fine. Maybe we need to go find one guy in the portal or something like that. No big deal. Maybe we need to go find, either it's a rotational guy or maybe it's a starter on the defensive front.
Sure.
Sweet. No big deal. But we have so many guys coming back up front that we should be fine. We should be good to go. Our offensive line, I know that they're going to be reloaded and they have plenty of talent and depth in that room that should be good to go. And then, you still got your workhorse in the backfield with Adam Jones, your skill outside with Taco Dowler, Dane Steele. You still got Schlepp and Lencioni coming back at the tight end position. I mean, they should just be able to start this thing up and roll everything downhill from here.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Town Pump. Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
We can't allow them to find any hope. No hope. Make it mean something, fellas. Now is the time. This is the place. Any team, anywhere, anytime.
Y'all take the fight to him.
It's going to be picked off. Take it.
Take 1 week. Episode 6.
Skyline Sports is on the road to Nashville. We couldn't do it without Blackfoot Communications. As the Montana State Bobcats take Bozeman pride on the road for the national championship, Blackfoot Communications is proud to support the businesses that keep this community moving. With managed services, high-speed internet, and business voice solutions, Blackfoot delivers the reliability and local support Bozeman businesses depend on game day and every day. Blackfoot Communications has been around for more than 70 years, providing high-quality jobs to people around southwestern Montana. To learn more, visit blackfoot.com. Blackfoot Communications, powering Bobcats and powering Bozeman businesses. Well, that Ty Gregory guy, we were talking about that earlier this morning too. There's some stuff where roster turnover is just a part of college football, but also there's no reason for anybody to ever be worried about certain positions for the Montana schools. Like, when's the last time the Cats had bad linebackers? Like, they just don't. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the Cats have had good linebackers since, Jeff Price and Chase Gazzaro and Dane Fletcher were roaming the sidelines. That was 20 years ago, like all the way through all the other guys. I mean, they're always, because it's a position you can recruit and develop so fluidly in Montana, because there's always going to be good dudes coming up through the ranks. So they're always going to be good Montana guys. Same thing with tight end, right? I mean, there's been, from Bo Sandlin through these guys. I mean, even just the vegan era, they've had Pickering and Snell and Rohan Jones.
God, even before Bo Sandlin, you had T. Salanoa, who was a freak show,
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, they've always had good tight ends. So, like, there's some stuff where it's just sort of natural progression. Like, I wouldn't really ever worry about certain spots for the Grizz or the Cats year in and year out, because you're just going to have good guys at your disposal.
It's the fronts of both four, man.
Right.
I mean, it's what we've discussed this throughout the years. What made NDSU elite to the point where they were winning, however, going to 10 national titles in a row.
Yep.
I mean, it's the fact that they've had however many draft picks on their offensive line over the years. I mean, they had a first-round draft pick last year. I mean, it all started really, I feel like, with Billy Turner. I don't know if you remember him or not.
I do. He still starts in the league, right? Doesn't he start for Miami?
He was a freak show, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, an absolute freak. And I mean, you can go over. I mean, they've got so many of them over the past years. But I mean, that's the difference. It's just, if you want to win in November against the top tier talent in the country, for one, you're going to have an established run game, and two, you got to have dudes up front who are battle tested, know what they're doing, and can pave the way for the ground game, throughout November, December, and January. And it's really the same on defense too. So, you got to be able to stop the run.
Yeah, exactly. And the other part I think is impressive about Montana State is, I think that last year when they made the big run and then they lost all those guys in the portal, I do think some of those guys blindsided them. Like, I think that there was a couple circumstances where they knew, I'm not going to name names, but I think there was a couple guys that they knew were going to hit the portal, so they had sort of a plan for that. But then there was a couple guys that they didn't know, and I think it blindsided them. And I think that sort of set them back a little bit. And then I think there was a couple guys, especially in the secondary, that just jumped in the portal because the other guy did. And they're like, well, I'm better than that guy, and that guy's going,
right.
Okay, I'm going with them. And so all of it was kind of a mess. But then, Vegan was very vocal about it. He said, hey, that sort of stuff we weren't expecting. We didn't know how to manage it. Now we do. So, like, I don't think that any of those 3 DBs that jumped in the portal, I don't think they were surprised by that.
No, I don't think so either.
Edric Jefferson, I don't think they were surprised by that. And I think they have a plan for all of that, right? They still have some other good young DBs that they're ready to just throw in there. I mean, I know that Jefferson was going to be facing a position battle this next year. I know he's going to Utah and all this stuff, but, like, they love Nate Thornton. Like, that was going to be a real deal thing when they pinned those guys together or against each other in fall camp and in spring ball and stuff. So I just think they have a better plan this year going into this offseason.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I think that the offensive line is going to be totally fine. It'll be interesting to see how the secondary plays out. But, like, I remember when Nate was getting recruited, he wants to be an engineer. So Al had me come in and talk to him, and they were huge on him. They got real high hopes for him. And talking about, his upside. You still got Everett Carr, who got a lot of game exposure this year, especially early in the season. Um, it's going to be interesting to see who's snapping the football. I'm assuming they'll probably just pop Burke over there and make someone's life easy by throwing him in at guard. As your first start, you don't have to snap the football, and kind of deal with, the anxiety of it being your first football game. So I think on the offensive line, they're going to be totally fine, especially with Zimmer coming back. Zimmer, both guards. Obviously, you're replacing a tackle and center. It's obviously just going to. I mean, the biggest question is going to be what does the depth look like? You're never, very rarely do you start the season with the same five that you end the season with, and so I think that'll be an interesting piece. And then they're going to have some big holes to fill on the defensive front. Obviously with losing Brought and Iden, but you got Cruz, who's obviously an established football player, and had a lot of success, so far in his career. Parsons is back, I believe, right?
Injured in an accident? You may be entitled to a bigger settlement, up to 3.5 times bigger. Your initial consultation is 100% free, and we don't get paid unless we win your case. No matter the accident, we are here to help. The advocates will fight for you because you deserve clarity, you deserve justice, you deserve guidance, you deserve an advocate. Contact us today.
Will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
Parsons is out. Yeah, no, they graduate Parsons, Eckert, Iden, and Brought. So the top four. But
yeah, so that's going to be.
But you still got Cruz, and I think Cruz will take a huge leap because Cruz. Iden's a great player, really good player. Cruz has more natural gifts even though than Iden. Kenny's better, but Cruz has a chance to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. He just has the intangibles. He's 6 foot, whatever, big. Big. He's long. He's strong. Got a great attitude. He's got a high motor. Yeah, I'm big on Zach Cruz. I think he's going to have a phenomenal finish to his career here at MSU.
The inside guys are pretty good too, man. Like I thought Marsh looked good when he had playing time this year. Zach Black was highly recruited. He sort of had to wait his turn. I know they loved the kid from Fairview, Charbonneau. But then Solano is another one. Solano had a sack against the Grizz in Missoula. So that's the other part. They play so many guys up front, so they have a whole bunch of guys that have been in games. So I think their front four is going to be fine too.
Yeah, they're going to be fine over there, and then they bring back all of their linebackers. So all dozen of them that played this year, it seems like.
Right.
The biggest question is going to be what are they going to do in the secondary? Because I think that the wide receiver position is going to be totally fine.
Yeah.
I think with Taco coming back, Dane Steele's obviously had a broken. I don't know if he had a breakout year, but he had a very solid year at the position. They're bringing in some solid recruits in that room too. So I'm excited to see. Like I said, they got the potential to make this thing, somewhat dynasty-esque with the current state of, even with losing however many guys they lost to the point. What are they up to, 9 now?
Yeah.
I'm juiced to see where they're at next year.
Is the final chapter or the next chapter in this book to then run it back and then play North Dakota State in the championship?
Yeah, just eliminate all question marks.
Right.
I'm sure for years to come, we'll hear about, especially in this state, we'll hear about how the Cats got lucky and, I talk with all my, family and they all want to jaw me and they're all Seahawks fans on top of it, which makes it even 10 times worse, and especially with the way that the Niners played against the Seahawks last week of the season. And, so I just piped up. I'm like, I'm glad you guys all could witness and didn't have to listen about the stories from the quote unquote good old days, the oral legends that have been passed down through your family, because it's the last time, the Grizzlies have won a national title. You guys weren't even alive and breathing yet. So I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And then I wonder, the thing that excites me the most is I think that a fracturing of college football is coming down the pipe, and I think it's coming fast. I think we're going to see just a complete wholesale reshuffling. So I don't think the Power Four wants to share money with anybody that's not in the Power Four, and I think that most of the Group of Five is going to realize they're banging their heads against the wall. What are you doing? Like, what are you actually playing for? Like, is the
Mhm.
Meineke Car Care Bowl like enough of a reward for you? You know, like what the hell is the point of being Miami of Ohio or Central Michigan right now? Like, you are never going to be in the mix with the big dogs. So I think that both sides are going to sort of see that. And then what happens with the Premier and the FCS? Do they make a move? And that's why I think this is such a cool opportunity for Montana State. Because what would be better than just being the team that wins the last couple FCS championships before the FCS doesn't exist anymore? Like that would be the coolest
Yeah.
ending to a story ever.
Yeah. I mean, it would be, I don't know how this is all going to shake out, but some sort of restructuring needs to occur. Um, it's not sustainable the way that things are currently going. And it's somewhat killing the game, but I don't necessarily want to say it's killing the game as much as it's I don't know how to word this.
It's altering what the game's supposed to be about.
Exactly. Like the way that, people just want to, it's all just about money now. And it's such a hard thing for me to understand because loyalty is just, it doesn't even factor into the equation anymore. And I'm not even like saying guys aren't loyal. If you get, a 6-figure, 7-figure check waved in your face, I mean, it's life-changing money for a lot of people. Like it's hard to say no to that. And so I don't know. I have a hard time with the current state of college football and where it's currently resting at. And I think Mark Emmett was onto something. He always said that this was going to ruin the game and everyone hated him for it, you know? And I just think that there is a better way to go about this instead of just opening up the floodgates and, allowing this to be the wild, wild west of recruiting. But something needs to happen. Not sure what it'll be. It'll be interesting, like you said, in the next few years. I think it'll happen sooner rather than later. Kind of what all comes of it.
Like Choate used to always say that the last great proving ground for young men is college football. Because the military, yes, there's certainly still people that go into the military, but it's not nearly like the requirement that it used to be. And I always appreciated him when he said that because I think it's so true. I think it's so important. It's supposed to be like this coming of age ceremony for young men where they get to test their mettle and they get to, put on for something bigger than themselves and represent a community and a university and all that stuff. And I think that still exists to a certain extent, but so many people don't care about that anymore. That's been the wildest part to me is I think that most people that watch college football and consume college football watch the millions of dollars of offers getting thrown around and they watch their favorite team losing all these guys to the portal, every single offseason, and they hate it. And guess what? They don't care. They still watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's no one that's been like, man, oh man, Indiana and Miami, they're paying their players way too much money. Like I think Carson Beck's annoying. I hate that he gets paid so much money. Guess what? I'm sitting my ass on the couch and watching that game from
Yeah.
start to finish on Monday. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what the crazy part is. We've let the stuff that's supposed to matter go by the wayside because we're just obsessed with it. We're all addicted to football.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely no way to, you know, turn, turn a blind eye to it. It is what it is. And it's like, I loved a lot of the things that Choate said. And I think just the sport of football in general, that's why I love high school football so much, because it is,
Right.
Exactly what we're talking about.
Totally.
But just the lessons and things that football teaches you in the man maker, I guess is the way that I would describe it. Football is a man maker.
Yes.
There's very few sports in the sport. Football and wrestling to me are man maker sports, where you learn how to become a man through the enjoyment, love, and passion for a game. You know how to become a part of a team, do your 1/11th. You know how to hold yourself accountable, hold others accountable, become a leader, all of these different things. When life gets hard, what are you
Yes.
going to do?
Yeah.
All these different things. And it just seems to me that now it's like, all right, things got hard, let's leave. Okay. Or,
Right.
whatever the lesson, there's plenty of lessons that the game teaches you. And right now I feel like it is losing a little bit of that, losing a little bit of that, that aura for me, because it's no longer what it's about.
Yeah, it's definitely true. It's definitely a conflict for all of us for sure. But I do think it's going to sort itself out. And you want to know the best news is I think that when it does sort itself out, the schools in Montana are going to be in the best position of anybody. Because I think the Power Four is going to just wash out into the ocean. It's just going to be the NFL minor leagues because they're not going to be able to help themselves, man. They're just going to not spend money. Like Texas Tech is just going to spend $200 million at some point until they win a national championship. They're just not going to not do it. And so then I think that what we're talking about, like where it's a little bit more modest and guys are just getting paid normal amounts of money, like what they probably deserve in terms of the revenue production they have for their school. I think that's going to be the level that Montana State and Montana settle at. I think that's a great thing.
I think, yeah, for the Montana schools, it's outstanding. It really is. The Montana schools have so much pride and tradition behind them. And I think that's why we retain a lot of kids.
Totally.
Like that's why you retain the Adam Jones, the Eli Gilmans, the Ayats, the Taco Dellers. It's because legacy matters more than the dollars do.
It's absolutely true. JP Flynn, Big Sky Breakdown, SkySportsMT.com. Let's hit an off-season episode or two, but we appreciate all your contributions this season. It's been great having you, man, and we appreciate all the time that you spent with us all fall and all winter.
All right, man. Let's do it.
Shine Beer Sanctuary is leading the charge when it comes to promoting beer culture in Montana. Located at the corner of Church and Main and downtown Bozeman, the locally owned and operated tap house and bottle shop has the best beer selection in the Treasure State. The bar has 32 rotating beers on tap with everything from Duvel to local ciders, gluten-free beers, and non-alcoholic options. The bottle shop has more than 400 beer offerings from all over the world, and Shine offers Cicerone-trained beer guides. Come enjoy beer heaven at Shine Beer Sanctuary in Bozeman.